beautiful book besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv if you're new here, and I'm so glad you decided to click on this video because we are not only going to be drinking coffee together, but we're going to specifically be talking about all of my reading plans for the month of February, and let me tell you, I'm super excited about it. I am super stoked for the month of February, and that is mainly because my January reading kind of went down the toilet. Like, I knew I was going to be traveling and I had some other things going on, which is why I've been kind of absent from this platform, but I did not anticipate getting sick for the last week or week and a half. So I'm still recovering from that. Sorry if you can hear some of the congestion, but it's been a lot of ups and downs. One day I have energy and the next day I'm like gasping for air. Like right now I'm a little bit breathy, but we are just going to push through this video because, like I said, I'm so excited for February. And of course I brought back my TBR jar. I am obsessed with this. It's so cute. Like, I just love having it as decor on my shelf, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to be reading in February. I do have some priorities with book clubs and things, so we will get into that before we do this. I'm hoping to go into this month having a little bit more time to read, feeling a little bit more energetic. I'm excited to get back to filming, so I'm very excited to see what we pick out together. So I always like to start us off with what I've got going on over on Patreon, and you guys chose The Favorites by Layne Fargo to be our February book club choice. And let me tell you, this was not exactly on my radar for February, but because I've seen this literally everywhere with not a single negative review, and 3 of my friends read it in January and I had no idea what it was, they just randomly picked it up and were absolutely obsessed with it. So I know very little about this book. The writing style is kind of compared to Daisy Jones and the Six, I believe. It's about a figure skating couple, and I love figure skating. I grew up skating. To the world, they were a scandal. To each other, an obsession. But I noticed that we do get like little interviews, or we have some type of mixed media, which I love. I've also heard the audio is phenomenal. So if you've read the book or you want to read it along with us, you can check out my Patreon because I think this one's going to be a really good discussion. The next thing that I think I have also mentioned that I'm doing with my patrons is we are doing a series read along together, and I decided to pick An Ember in the Ashes. There's nothing like having a big buddy read with a big series, especially this one that is super popular. I have never read anything by Sabaa before, but this might be my first read of February actually, because I have been chomping at the bit to finally get into this. I've heard she is very brutal. I've heard she also loves to kill off her characters, and I don't know if that's a spoiler alert, but my sister also recently blazed through the series, absolutely loved it. But Academy, yes. I have heard multiple people tell me specifically I will love this series. If you want to join along over on Patreon, we are only reading 1 book a month, so in the next 4 months you will have completed a full series. I did just want to take this kind of slow, and at the end we're going to have a big discussion together and talk about what we loved, what we didn't, all that good stuff. So if you're interested, I highly recommend joining because I think some crazy stuff is going to go down in this series. I don't have my book specifically picked out for this yet, but on Patreon I did announce that we are going to be doing a kind of like a year-long readathon called Reading in Color. So every other month I will be picking a color. Our first color for February is red, and basically all you have to do is pick books with that color on the cover. And I'm not necessarily going to go in the order of the rainbow, but because February is the month of love, I felt like we had to start with the color red. So I'm just going to be sprinting all weekend long when we have these, and yeah, I think it's just going to be super fun. By the end of the year we will have read the entire rainbow basically. The only other thing that I am participating in outside Patreon stuff, because we have a lot going on, is the book club for my friend Kendall. Everyone chose the new Kate Alice Marshall, A Killing Cold. Kate Alice Marshall and I have like an iffy type of relationship. I feel like her adult thrillers have really started going viral, but my only experience with her is a young adult horror book, which I loved. But her one adult thriller I did try, I can't remember what it's called right now. I did end up DNFing it. But I do know one thing about Kate Alice Marshall, and her writing is phenomenal. It's atmospheric. Oh, This one says, a whirlwind romance. When Theodora Scott met Connor, wealthy, charming, and a member of the powerful Dalton family, she fell in love in an instant. 6 months later, he's brought her to Idlewood, his family's isolated winter retreat, to win over his skeptical relatives. Theo has tried to ignore the threatening messages on her phone, but she can't ignore the footprints in the snow outside the cabin window or the strange sense of familiarity she has about this place. Then, in a disused cabin, Theo finds something impossible, a photo of herself as a child, a photo taken at Idlewood. I feel like I must read this month before we get into March and things just start to feel more like spring. So here's me giving Kate Alice Marshall a second chance, so thanks to Kendall for motivating me. I have been hearing really good things about this one, and it's really short, so I feel like I could definitely binge this on a weekend. And as far as anticipated releases go, I must read Rebel Witch. You guys, I have had the ARC on my Kindle for months, and I don't know what in the world is taking me so long to read that. I don't know if I just don't want to be the only one that's read it and then I have no one to talk about it. I don't know if I'm scared with what's gonna happen. It does finally come out in just a couple of weeks, and if you've read Heartless Hunter, I think you'll know why we all are dying to get our hands on this book. Heartless Hunter ended up being on my top 3 favorites of 2024, and I'm super confident that this book will also end up on my favorites of this year. But if you don't know anything about it, it's basically about a witch and witch hunter. It's also kind of like Regency Bridgerton vibes mixed in, but I just love the world that she's created. I'm so stoked for Rebel Witch, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. Another book that I'm debating on trying because I really would love to give this author a second chance is First Time Caller by BK Borison. I read whatever her Christmas book is that I'm completely blanking on right now, and I really didn't like it, but here's the thing. I also hadn't read a whole lot of romance at that point in my life. I feel like if I reread it now, I could really enjoy it, but I feel like this is the perfect chance for me to try her again since she's coming out with a brand new series. I think there might be a radio host. I think there is Sleepless in Seattle vibes, but other than that, I'm going completely blind. I love the cover. I've already got this queued up on my Kindle, but apparently this is the month of giving authors second chances, so let's hope I like this one even more. Okay, the time has come for us to choose 5 prompts from this jar. Let's just go ahead and pick our first one. I honestly can't even remember what I picked in January because I'm not putting the slips back in here, so every single prompt is going to be brand new. Blind pick from your shelves. Oh no. Okay, so I have these shelves in here, but I'm not going to count my TBR cart, but I also have another bookshelf out on the landing, but my bookshelves are also set up as a rainbow, so like I kind of know the gist of like the color. Okay y'all, here are my messy shelves. This is where I'm filming, so I don't really want to mess up my camera where I'm filming over here. I'm basically just gonna like point at a shelf and reach, and you guys will see it before I do. I love blue, so I will probably end up gravitating towards the middle. Okay y'all, I promise my eyes are closed. Promise they're closed. Oh gosh, I'm so scared. Ah, I don't even know if you can see or I can see. Okay, let's see. Yay! Okay, I'm super excited about this one. Oh my gosh. I am super excited that I picked out The Drowned Woods. I've been meaning to read something else by her for years. Ever since I read The Bone Houses and was obsessed with it, I'm like, this author is so underrated. I think this one is set in Wales, and the main character is a siren. The girl learned that water could save a life, or take it. It was a lesson she wouldn't forget. I feel like this is going to be the perfect choice. It's a very short standalone fantasy, and even Kayla from my Patreon sent me this for Christmas, I think last year. So if you're watching, Kayla, thank you for sending me this book, and I'm so excited to finally read this. Okay, we're off to a very strong start here. I am very pleased with that one, so let's see what we have next. Book someone gave to you. My birthday was a couple days ago. I'm trying to think which ones I want to read. So I might be making a mistake with this one because it's a massive fantasy, but if I'm gonna read this at any point in time, I need to read it now for 2 reasons. 1, because it's wintry. 2, because we are in those slow months of the year and before I get really busy, I would love to read this. Also, 3rd reason, my friend Desi absolutely loves this book, and it was also given to me for a Christmas present. I have Anastasia by Sophie Lark. I have never read anything by this author before. This book is absolutely massive. Ooh, Ooh, I love that we have some illustrations in here. I didn't even realize that. Anastasia's the princess no one needs, the fourth daughter born to an emperor without a son, and the only royal lacking a magical gift. I'm already intrigued. I do know this book gets a little bit brutal. I have no clue what I'm getting into with this one. Can you guys see how much bigger this book looks already? I'm definitely a little bit intimidated. So let's just go ahead and pick our third book for the month. Yellow on the cover. I'm kind of tempted to cheat and just use a Killing Cold, but I'm gonna go ahead and look at my yellow books and see what I can find. Okay, the lighting just changed drastically, but I am going to show you which books I thought about doing, but I didn't actually choose. I thought about doing The Temptation of Magic or This Woven Kingdom, but they're both parts of series. I know I'm going to love both of them, but because it is February, I feel like I had to go with a romance, so I decided to go with The Love of My Afterlife. I've heard this is very much like The Dead Romantics, but people like this one even better. A recently deceased woman meets the one in the afterlife waiting room, scoring a second chance at life and love if she can find him on Earth before 10 days are up. I love that we have like a little bit of a plot in the romance. I've heard that this book is just absolutely amazing. So instead of going with some more heavy fantasy, I think I'm gonna play it safe and go with this book because obviously there's some very bright yellow on this and I've been really meaning to read it, so I feel like February is the perfect excuse. We have 3 down, 2 to go. I'm hoping I can fulfill one of these prompts with like a Fairy Loot edition because I don't think I've really read any of those since I've gotten them. Gives the vibes of my favorite Taylor album. My favorite Taylor album is Folklore, but also Reputation, which is 2 completely different vibes. Honestly, I could probably use this one for Folklore because there is folklore in this. I think there's like some mythology. I feel like Reputation, I could choose like a thriller or like a revenge book. I kind of want to choose a thriller, so I changed my mind like I knew I would. I forgot that I had made a whole Instagram reel off folklore vibe books, and guess what was on it? Spells for Forgetting, and I really have been wanting to read this one. I recently read her new book, absolutely loved it, so I would love to read more of her backlist. I know this one is very atmospheric and I feel like that fits the vibe of Folklore very, very well. The fact that her friend's name is August, that's immediate folklore. I'm excited to read this, a little bit scared, but I've been meaning to read this for literally years now. I put it on so many TBRs, so now is the perfect excuse. Last but not least, we have to make it a good one. I don't know if I want another fantasy. I mean, we do have a mystery with Spells for Forgetting, so I feel like that's good. Blurbed by a favorite author. This is definitely going to take me a hot minute. I literally could have spent so much time doing that and researching books. But I was like, you know what? There's an author that I met in November and I've been dying to read her book, and that is Emily Varga's For She Is Rad. I also got the Fairy Loot. Yes, this is Fairy Loot edition, and it is absolutely stunning. I really would love to see what this author is about. Ignited by love, consumed by vengeance, unleashed by fury. This is a standalone, which is another plus because I'm already reading Ember in the Ashes and I just don't want to like start too many series. And speaking of Adrienne Young, the reason why I chose this is because Adrienne Young on the back said filled with romance, adventure, and heart, and she's one of my favorites. I honestly had no clue. I didn't even do that on purpose. I just pulled this book out and immediately it said Adrienne Young. Okay, well, I guess that was meant to be. Dania counts down her days in prison until she can exact revenge on Mason, the boy responsible for her downfall. The boy she once loved and still can't forget. When she discovers a fellow prisoner may have the key to achieving that vengeance, they execute a daring escape together in search for the hidden treasure. That is true enemies to lovers because he has put her in prison. I don't know if he ends up falling in love with her, but I guess we'll find out, and I seriously have been looking forward to this for so long, so I think February is the month. Alright friends, we have our books chosen, and I feel like I have such a great variety. We have like a contemporary literary, we have a thriller, a fantasy, 3 like standalone fantasies, actually 4, and we have a romance. So I feel like I definitely am well-rounded with my choices. I feel like I shouldn't have a problem getting through these because I have been genuinely wanting to read all of these for so long now. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching this video. Let me know what you are planning to read in February. What is your top priority priority book. Let me know if you're going to be joining us for the favorites. I think I'm either going to start out with that one or Ember in the Ashes, because I feel like both of those are going to just kick off my month so well. I hope your year is starting off amazing. I'm definitely hoping to be back more consistently. I love you guys so much. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I will see you in my next video.